Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this edition of Living. I'm Jim Fuller.
Jim Fuller, I just didn't expect to see you sitting in that chair this morning.
I'm
Peggy Burton.
And
I'm glad to see you, though.
I'm glad to see you, Peggy, and I didn't expect to be here, but John's a little under the weather this morning, so called me last night and asked me if I'd fill in for him, and I'm tickled to do that, especially since I get to work with you, Peggy. Because
well, we'll see if either one of us have anything to say.
Peggy has been a little ill. We were just talking before we came on camera. Peggy was sick through part of December.
About a month.
Yeah. And I've been doing other things, and I was telling Peggy my mind has not been on TV for the last few weeks, and Peggy said she'd been
kind of been at loose ends.
Yeah. So we were just hoping we could get through this today.
We will. I did go to see a great movie, A Man Called Otto. Have you read about that?
I have not.
That's Tom Hanks, and it's just a beautiful story. A simple story, but a beautiful story. And so it's on at the theater out here. I would encourage anybody to go see it. I cried all the way home after seeing it, but sometimes that's good for you.
Do you go to a lot of movies?
No.
No?
I just happen to like Tom Hanks.
I do not remember when I've been in a movie theater.
I did go to see Elvis.
Elvis?
And that's kind of new, but it's been a while.
Yeah.
And that was a great show.
Yeah.
I mean, well done. The young man that did the lead in that, I thought he was phenomenal. He didn't look that much like Elvis, but he made you believe he was Elvis, and that was good.
I have not seen that movie either, but I plan to, and I think it's on
Netflix or something like that.
Yeah, it probably is.
Yeah.
Or
It's really
maybe
well
HBO.
done. And Tom Hanks did Colonel Parker in
right.
that show, and you wouldn't have recognized him because they had him pumped up, looking huge, and Colonel Parker was kind of a man to be reckoned with, I think.
Apparently so, and one of the things that's always amazed me is I wasn't always sure that he was being fair with Elvis. What was your impression after you watched the movie?
I believe that he started out being fair, but then I think he started taking advantage, or maybe Elvis wasn't quite alert enough to business to jump in when he should have, but somehow he made him famous. That meant a lot.
Sure. Elvis's daughter passed away this week, of course.
And that was sad.
That was very sad at 54, for goodness sakes.
Girl.
Yes.
A lot of talent.
But I was reading an article about that, and it mentioned that when Elvis passed away in, I think, 1977.
Something like that.
And he was worth about $5 million. And, that's not a lot of money for someone who is that big of a star,
150 years ago, maybe, but now, not.
Right.
And I think it's pretty miraculous how the family has managed to keep the home going and tourists coming in and making money with it. And I guess would be up to Priscilla and the grandchildren maybe now.
I think the grandchildren will probably inherit
I would think so.
Lisa's stock in the Elvis Presley Enterprises, I believe it is. And Lisa owned the Graceland property herself. So
that was a tremendous amount of expenditure that went into all of that. And I used to know Elvis grew up around Tupelo, Mississippi, if I'm not mistaken. And in the military, we had some friends, and they had worked with him as, his guards and drivers and whatever. And it was interesting talking to them. Elvis, bless his soul, was just a country boy that made it big.
Absolutely. And my favorite stories to read have been about him buying somebody a new Cadillac.
I know.
And he did that a lot.
I know.
That a lot. And can you imagine,
just having enough money to...
Yeah.
So he obviously was a giving person. He didn't keep it all for himself. It was interesting.
Cadillacs were a big deal, and more so than probably today. Do you know who Mickey Mantle is?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. Mickey Mantle in his prime probably made probably the most he ever made is $100,000 a year, which is not much when you consider what athletes make these days. Right. And But he said, I think when he signed his last contract, which was around $100,000, somebody asked him if he was happy with it, and he says, "Well, I just always equate what I make to how many Cadillacs I can buy with that." And so I've done pretty well. I'm pretty happy with the way things have went, because I guess back in those days you could probably buy a Cadillac for $5,000 or $6,000 probably. But
I was thinking back when you thinking about what you paid for. I remember the first new car we paid for many years ago was $2,000, and we thought, "Oh my gosh, we'll never get this paid for."
Right.
But now you can't even buy a tricycle for $2,000. What happened?
We don't know.
No,
we're
we
gonna
don't
say,
know.
you know, that used to be a bigger deal. Used to, cars didn't last as long as they do now. You buy a new car, if you had 50, 60,000 miles on it, it was probably wore out.
It's probably wore out, but now you can get I guess you can drive a Cadillac 300,000 miles or more. I don't know. I'm not that in tune to how.
Well, I'm pretty sure it's probably more than 150,000.
I think so.
Miles, because last night I was watching an infomercial, because it came on. I was too lazy to get the remote and change the channel, but they were selling car warranties, and a lot of people sell car warranties, but they were willing to warranty your car for up to 150,000 miles.
Really?
So I assume we could safely assume they would. They believe it'll last longer.
They believe it'll last longer, yeah. And one of the things about a car these days, though, is that it's not that easy to fix. You got to take it in to get it fixed, because there's so much technology in there that.
Oh, I guarantee you, when I was a young man, a teenager in high school, I worked at a service station, and I could do about anything.
You could fix anything, yeah.
You know, about a car, but I wouldn't even attempt to now. You know, no way. And I'm sure there are a lot of people like that.
Right.
So,
it's a different story these days.
Yeah, absolutely. I understand the Henry Cho was at South Jackson this past weekend.
Henry Cho sold out. I didn't go see it, but again, I hadn't felt good. But obviously, people were ready for some comedy.
Yeah,
and
right.
You know, I think we talked about this last week, but he's been enrolled in the Opry, Grand Ole Opry.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was a new thing. I saw it on Facebook, and he was surprised. He has performed several times at the Opry, but he didn't think that he would ever be in the Hall of Fame or whatever it is, or a member of the Opry itself. But he is a neat guy.
Yeah.
And he does a show that is family friendly. He doesn't have to use horrible language and gross things to talk about. He is just a funny guy.
You know, and these days, you know, that's sort of unique.
It is. It's very unique, because sometimes I'll be scrolling something and I'll just be appalled at what some people call comedy. To me, it's not always real funny.
Right.
The days of Robin Williams and, oh my gosh, I can't think of all of the comedians that I loved, but they're kind of over.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And apparently Henry Cho comes here. Does he come here every year?
Henry has some property on Tim's Ford, I believe, and he has an establishment with us that he comes to the Civic Center once a year, which is fabulous.
Oh, cool.
He does we get some money, he gets some money, and it's a sure thing, actually. I don't know that he always totally sells out, but this year he did. So I think people are ready to get back to seeing things.
Oh, yeah. Because I guess we're not totally recovered from the 2020 when
we're not.
COVID hit.
COVID hangs on. It's just one of those things that has hung on, and obviously, because people I know are still getting COVID.
Right.
And it's, you know, it's something you think about.
I just read a press release from the CDC, and I think it was day before yesterday, and they were talking, you know, they rate each county in the whole country about risk for COVID, and Coffee County was very low risk for COVID. And then our friend John was one of them that gets it.
So anyway, I think, I honestly think there's a few people who get COVID that they didn't really even get tested.
Yeah.
Because that's what they put on my chart was suspected COVID. Nobody checked me. I was just very,
really?
very, very sick. Yeah.
Right.
And I guess it was COVID again, and I'd already had it once.
Yeah.
But I think it kind of knocked me for a loop.
And you had the vaccinations as well, don't you?
I've had every shot known to man. I have really. Almost afraid not to get them, you know. But I think I may have had my last one.
Oh, you think you're done?
I think I'm done.
Well, Peggy, you might think about that now because the newer booster shots are geared specifically to the strain that's out there now.
Well,
and
yeah,
that's kind of like the way flu shot works. So.
Now, how about shingle shots? Have you had a shingle shot?
I have had that, yes.
I have too, and I'm. If you've ever known anybody that had a bad case of shingles, it's horrible. So I would encourage anybody out there.
And the late Milner Carden told me many years ago, I'd say many years ago, maybe 8 or 10, that when it's time for me to get a shingle shot, get it, because he never did. And he said that's one of the worst things most horrible things you can get. So.
Some people, I guess, it hits worse than others, and then it probably part of it depends on what portion of your body it hits. Like I've known people where it came right down their face, and down their eye, and it's just horrible.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, people on Medicare can get the shots for free now.
I believe that's right.
I think it's a new thing, and so I would encourage people to go out there and get it.
Yeah, I believe that's right.
Well,
okay.
Have we said enough? Have we?
Peggy, believe it or not, I think we might have actually gotten through
most of it.
through this
and we don't have
segment here.
John and his literature to read. And
that's right, right. And it went.
John, we want you to get well.
Absolutely,
Sorry,
absolutely. He said he was feeling okay.
Oh, good.
But.
Well, you can't get out.
He can't get out. But I think it's only 5 days now.
I think it's 5 days now, so that's not too bad.
Yeah. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back in just a moment with more.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For many senior citizens, life looks like this, but it doesn't have to. When you make your home at Parkview Senior Living, life after retirement takes on a whole new meaning. Daily exercise options, fun outings, happy hour, game nights, movies and popcorn, arts and crafts, enjoying friends over chef-prepared meals. Parkview Senior Living, where you're always home, but you're never home alone.
Let me tell you about the toughest guy on earth. He does the work of 2 jobs, but only gets paid for one. He's tough enough to feed the man that gave him a lifetime of nourishment. He has the crazy strength to lift the man that raised him up without even flinching. That's right. No employee of the month bonus check here. This guy, this warrior, will always be by his father's side, even if his dad will hardly remember. Good luck finding a gym to train for that. If this guy isn't the toughest guy on the planet, then I don't know who is. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
Is this the year you want to get fit? If so, check out just some of the things Tullahoma Parks and Rec has to offer. Kickboxing, aerobics, silver sneakers workouts, swim lessons, boot camp, water aerobics, basketball, Zumba, yoga, pickleball, lap swimming, treadmill, karate. Get fit, Tullahoma, and have some fun with Tullahoma Parks and Rec.
I was skeptical about getting the COVID-19 vaccine.
there are a lot of opinions being shared.
But I had the chance to talk with my doctor about my concerns. He told me the vaccines are backed by decades of research, and that the vaccines are proven safe and effective. Now I'm protected and ready to put this pandemic behind us. Join the millions of Tennesseans who have decided to give COVID-19 vaccines a shot. Visit covid19.tn.gov to find an appointment today.
Get your news first, fast, and free with your news leader on 6 every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday nights at 6, 8, and 10 p.m. Local weather, sports, community calendar events, and a comprehensive look at the latest news stories and news makers as only a video news broadcast can do. Get it first, fast, and free with News Leader on Channel 6, your local information network.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and we're pleased to have joining us on the set now somebody who usually brings his guitar, and he came without it today, so I assume he's got interesting stuff to say and can get through this segment without it. John Rickman, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. And the reason I'm here today is because we're going to have over at Grace Baptist Church a barbecue and fish fry dinner. We have this each year. Philip, would you pull up the picture? There it is, and it's free, y'all. This is a free dinner starting at 5 o'clock on January 28th. And Coach John Olive, as you all know, is a state champion, had a state championship football team, 4A, and in 2021. And then we have also speaking that day a Wyoming cowboy preacher, James Scott. He's done many national rodeos. And both these fellows should be interested. Coach Olive is going to, most of that will be question, answers, and just discussion. So it should be good. I'm filling in, by the way, for my son, Chris, who did this last year, and John was here to interview him. And Chris, and there's several other men of the community that love the out of doors, and they also love the Lord. And they just feel like this is a good way to reach out to the community in a positive way. Some of the things that they've done, this group, Grace Outdoors, has done down through the years is skeet shooting, canoeing, hog hunting, four-wheeling, fishing, and several needy children are
hog hunting.
Hog hunting. I didn't go, Jim. I don't know much about it. I'm not that much into hunting myself, you know.
Yeah.
But these guys, I want to support them all I can.
Oh,
because
absolutely.
And what they have done too, they've taken certain young men who maybe lost their fathers along the way. They've included them in some of these little outings, and it's just a great organization. We meet every so often. There's no set time. We'll get a text saying we're meeting certain place, and it's a great organization of just men in the community that enjoy one another's company.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like that's going to be a lot of fun, and of course, Coach John Olive just retired as the head coach of Tullahoma High School football team. Right after he won a state championship. A great time to quit, wasn't it?
Yes, well, perfect timing. Perfect timing. And you know, Coach Olive has been, he was coaching for about 30 years. And you know, there have been years where it didn't seem so productive, and another year, that's the way sports are. And it kind of depends on what other people have, what you have, and but in 2021, it was all put together with an extremely talented group of young men.
Well, you know, we had the good fortune of working with John through most of his career since 1990 when he came to Tullahoma, you know. And I always thought that he's the kind of coach, kind of guy that, you know, you might not have had a winning season this year. It could have went a lot better. But you have to feel like that the kids that played under him probably learned a lot and and he was the kind of guy, I think, or is the kind of guy that, you know, he's going to build character in those young men, even if he doesn't win all the time.
I coached in the junior high and middle school for 30 years, and I had modeling for me coaches in my hometown that I just loved and admired them so much. Knew other people the same way, and I wouldn't do anything different. I wouldn't go back to it, but I wouldn't do it. I'm sure glad I did what I did.
You know, for kids, I think coaches, you know, they really are pretty important to their lives as they grow up, because so many things that you've seen and done as an adult, they don't have that experience yet,
Right.
And may not get it. And some of them come from depressed areas or whatever, and they won't get the opportunities. So coaching is very important.
I think too, if you have a grandchild or a child, a young man who you want to show him some other fellas, be with other fellas, other guys, it's a growing experience.
Oh, sure.
And Coach Olive, by the way, he will be there and answering questions and so forth. We're going to also have some displays and booths, silent auction, drawing. These are some of the prizes for the drawing. 2 football season tickets to see the Tullahoma ball games for the year. A gun.
That's a good prize.
Yes. A gun, a Savage M301 camo covered turkey shoot gun, 20 gauge, a bone collector crossbow. These things I don't know much about, Jim.
Yeah.
I was just told this.
I know nothing.
I'm not a hunter. I just don't. Now this is our menu: barbecue or catfish. We're going to have catfish too. Coleslaw, baked beans, hush puppies, banana pudding, some wild game perhaps. We've gotten away from the wild game some because it's just easier to prepare a certain menu, which is barbecue and the fish, but it is delicious. Now, there might be some wild game there mixed in with chili or stew or something like that. But
so, wild game, what would that include?
venison.
Got you.
Some of my son, Chris, who I'm very proud that does this sort of thing and tries to put this on. He goes hunting at Texas and different places. Me, I don't want to go.
So it could be rattlesnake or something like that,
Yeah,
right?
good. We've had it.
Right.
We've had that, and we've had alligator and things like that before. But you know, we have somebody maybe just passing a tray where they won't pig out on it. You know,
okay.
Nobody else gets the opportunity.
Right. Right.
And so anyone that has a interest in joining our group, you know, you can find out more about us maybe on that Saturday, January 28th. And so I hope you'll come and bring someone with you. It'll be a good experience. And I want to give to you, Jimmy. I know you have beautiful hair and you don't like to cover it up.
No, I don't. Actually, it's pretty thin. It's getting pretty thin these days. So you know, when I get out in the yard and get to doing stuff, I got to put a hat on these days.
We're glad you interviewed us. Show that one more time, Philip, if you will. Maybe he's not got it with him, but
there
it is.
There you go.
So anyway, we appreciate you having me today.
Okay. Well, I have looked forward to it, and we're glad you are here today. And
thank you.
You know, on a personal note, you pretty much retired now, John.
Yes, sir.
Do you still sit around and get out the guitar and write a few songs and do that kind of thing?
Hardly ever.
Hardly ever.
Yeah. I do some, but not very much. I just don't. It used to consume my time.
Yeah.
Because I loved it so much, and we were entertaining a whole lot.
Yeah.
But I never was a very good picker.
Yeah.
And all I ever want to do is play guitar to be able to accompany myself singing.
Right.
So playing guitar is not all that great for me.
John, and if I'm taking too much time, let me know back there in the control room. But John had a group called Us Two and Him.
Still do.
And you guys played it.
We played a lot of
all over Middle Tennessee.
All over the United States, really,
Yeah.
and it's pretty fantastic because we have limited talent. And I think we're different because we would sing about homey things.
Yeah.
Like outhouses, chewing tobacco,
Yeah.
knives, old knives, all the many things. Dove hunting, Two Snake Doctors and a Butterfly is a song that covers dove hunting. Fishing, Old Maud, the big fish that gets away. And I was able to write these songs, and I look back at them and I think, how in the world did I do that? I don't know.
Was that your brothers that were?
Jimmy is my brother. He's the one that plays the bass. And by the way, keep him in your prayers. He's having cochlear implant on one side of his, on one side today. He's lost quite a bit of his hearing, and it's affected his playing some. But we've adapted to it and getting around it as much as possible. But he's had one cochlear implant, and the other one's being done today.
And that will assist him in hearing.
Now, he played a lot of rock and roll music when he was young.
Yeah.
And I believe it. I don't know. Maybe it's genetic. I don't know.
You know, a lot of you folks that know me know that I spent about 30 years running the American Legion in Tullahoma, which featured entertainment all the time, and a lot of that was wild rock and roll stuff. And then we went through that era of karaoke, which I was directly part of. And you know, I have issues hearing today, and didn't know that would.
Did we ever think about ear protection?
No,
not a bit.
Not a bit. No.
I would mow and shoot firecrackers, and never have ear protection.
Right.
Shoot guns next to your ear.
Yeah.
That didn't even think about it.
Now, nobody told us that back then.
No, that's why so many can't hear today.
Exactly. So, I know you were on the Ralph Emery show.
Yes.
Was that one of your bigger moments?
We played the Opry.
You did play the Opry.
In 1980.
Yeah.
And then we played Ralph Emery for about 11 or 12 years.
Yeah.
I say 11, but I've looked at something. We were there maybe in 79 and did something there. And then we played Nashville Now once.
Oh.
A lot of this is once, Jimmy. But Ralph Emery now asked us to be regulars, but we told him we had jobs and we had families. We just couldn't do that.
That's right. Throughout all of that, you had a real job.
Yeah.
So.
And my brother and Phil did too. The school system was good to me. They would let me come in just a little bit late. I missed part of one class in the morning, but we would play, and I enjoyed it so much. It was fun, but it was hard on you because I had to get up around 3 in the morning.
Oh, goodness.
To make it to Nashville.
That's right. Ralph Emery show came on at, 5 o'clock?
5:30.
5:30, yeah.
Need to be there 30 minutes beforehand.
Yeah. Did you actually get paid to do that?
Yes, it was small. Now, if we'd have been regular, I don't know what we'd have gotten, but I can't think it would have ever supported us. Now, it might have perpetuated a better, we might have played lots of places all over everywhere because people see us on TV. And that's when we really were our busiest because people anywhere that the Channel 4 area covers, we would go play. We would play. We did a lot of Farm Bureau work, co-op, banquets, concert, all kinds of things. People were very kind to us.
So, and you did get paid for all that, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah, we had to.
Yeah.
Or you'd just work for free all the time.
Right.
Then it'd be not worth it.
Did you ever think that that might lead to doing that full time? Was that something you aspired to do?
I had some amount of thoughts in that direction, but stability-wise, I never thought it was that smart. Because I know old rock and rollers that now, some of them are in nursing homes and
oh yeah,
and they made money at the time, and which was good, but they didn't do much saving, and I just wanted to do a little different.
Yeah, and I guess maybe a lot of them are pretty young, and when you're
They were young at that time.
At that time, and you just think, oh, this is gonna go on forever.
We had a friend. He lives in Illinois now, and he was a rock and roller, but he wound up playing for Eddie Rabbitt. Now this boy has arthritis in his fingers, and he can't play very well anymore. And he's a good fella, but he's not doing so well because of all the years he spent not preparing.
Yeah, and John and I talk about our hearing, but if you're playing music probably full time and on the road, it's probably a lot rougher on you than just your hearing. So,
It is.
So.
It's a whoop.
But anyway, I'm just glad we were able to do all that.
I am too, Jimmy. It's been fun.
Right. John, thank you so much for coming by today. Appreciate it so much. And by the way, the event that we were actually supposed to be talking about, is that open to the public?
It's open to the public.
Can you buy tickets?
No, you don't. It's free.
Oh, it's free.
You come in, and you'll be welcomed, and we'll have a big time.
All right. We'll be right back, folks, right after this.
The Bookshelf in Tullahoma is the fundraising arm of the Coffee County Literacy Council. Since 1988, the Literacy Council's goal and purpose has been to support and promote adult basic education in Coffee County. We enable individuals to complete their high school equivalency exam, which helps them get better jobs or continue into higher education. The Bookshelf at 114 Southwest Atlantic Street in Tullahoma is where we sell used books, which are donated to us by the community. Come see us, bring your books to donate, and join us as you find every genre of books that you can imagine.
I had a knee replacement, so they've got me in life care, which I'm very, very thankful for. I couldn't garden, I couldn't do my flower beds, I can't chase my little dogs. I have been in several therapy sessions for knees and back, and that's the best therapist I believe I've ever been to. It's tremendous because I'm able to walk again, but if it wasn't for the care, I wouldn't be where I am.
Let us champion your recovery. Life Care Center of Tullahoma.
Is this the year you want to get fit? If so, check out just some of the things Tullahoma Parks and Rec has to offer. Kickboxing, aerobics, silver sneakers workouts, swim lessons, boot camp, water aerobics, basketball, Zumba, yoga, pickleball, lap swimming, treadmill, karate. Get fit, Tullahoma, and have some fun with Tullahoma Parks and Rec.
Parkview Senior Living, active, independent senior living at its finest.
Do you love sports? Then you should know about STEM. Because maximizing nutrition, analyzing peak muscle performance, calculating the perfect shot, and more are all made possible by science, technology, engineering, and math. In fact, there are more careers than ever in sports science. So if you have a passion for sports, then think about getting involved in STEM and improve everyone's game on and off the field. Get inspired at SheCanSTEM.com.
Get your news first, fast, and free with your news leader on 6 every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday nights at 6, 8, and 10 p.m. Local weather, sports, community calendar events, and a comprehensive look at the latest news stories and news makers as only a video news broadcast can do. Get it first, fast, and free with News Leader on Channel 6, your local information network.
I'm so happy to have with me on the set today Kenny Pearson. Not only does he have a family that I love, but he's a man that does fireman work.
Yes,
and that is
ma'am.
fabulous.
Well, I appreciate it.
And how long, I was just fixing to ask you, and you were fixing to tell me how long you'd been in the fire department here.
I have been with the department since about 98.
98.
So almost 25 years.
What's one of the most horrifying experiences you've had? Do you remember?
Just any time that you go out on anything within your own community, you're always thinking about who it is.
Right.
Or who it could be, or it could be a family member, it could be anybody. That's probably one of the harder things, working within your community and trying to take care of people. You always think about, this could be my kid.
Right.
Early on in my career, we had a wreck, and I asked the kid what his name was, and he said his name was Josh. I was sitting there going, "Oh, my son's name is Josh." So I was like, so it just brings it a lot of insight into your community and trying to help people when they're in need.
Well, we are very blessed. I don't know how many firemen we have in the Tullahoma Fire Department. Do you know?
We have 30 full-time firefighters. That's 10 per shift. We have 3 shifts, A, B, and C shift.
Right.
They work a 24-and-a-quarter-hour shift, and they're off for 2 days, and then they come back. We have 4 administration that are, we have a deputy chief, assistant chief, myself as the chief. We have a fire marshal, and we have a administrative assistant that also works with our community risk reduction program.
Well, you do some phenomenal work, and I was telling you a while ago that I let some eggs boil on my stove and went to sleep, and luckily ADT was installed in my house, but all of a sudden all these things started blasting, and it was amazing because I live out in the country, and we have a North Franklin County Fire Department, and they were there with just instantly.
Yeah.
And
it's always good to have fast response, like you have the ADT system. A lot of our places in our communities have those type of fire alarms that will notify.
Right.
That helps us to respond faster.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
I've been sneezing. I wanted to ask you this question. I know there was, I think the Tullahoma Fire Department encourages people to call and let you go in and do new fire.
Smoke alarms?
Yeah, smoke alarms.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you still doing that?
We are still on that grant program. We've been doing it for over 10 years now. We've probably installed over 6,000
That's awesome.
smoke alarms. We've also already started replacing them because a smoke alarm only lasts for 10 years. So at the 10-year point, you need to replace them.
You need to replace your
I had somebody call me the other day. Actually, it was a family member. They called me and says, "Hey, my smoke alarms are 15 years old," and they started beeping on me. I said, "Well, they needed to be replaced at 10 years."
So when you hear them starting to beep, that means they're wearing down, or they run out of a battery or something.
There's different codes. If you have a smoke alarm that has a battery in it, if you pull it off the top, on the back, they tell you if it's like so many beeps. If it's like 3 beeps and then it stops for a minute and does 3 more beeps, it'll tell you what's going on with the smoke alarm.
Okay.
So they have different codes that they will put out. But at 10 years old, you really need to replace them.
Need to just replace the whole thing.
Just replace them. The ones that we put in at the fire department are lithium-ion batteries. They're sealed, so you cannot take the battery out of them. So when they're put up,
they're there to stay.
They're there for 10 years.
How long? Oh, it lasts 10 years.
For 10 years, yes, ma'am.
Do you come out in the country?
Unfortunately, with that grant program, it's only for residents of the city of Tullahoma.
Well, I would encourage.
Most of the areas around here also will do that.
Yeah.
You just call whatever local fire department you have within your community. They call them and ask them if they're in that program, and a lot of them are doing it now.
Well, I would certainly encourage everybody to look into that because it's such a, and I don't know what it costs. Do y'all do that for free?
It costs nothing.
That's amazing.
The only thing we have to do is we have to put them in. We have to take a few pieces of document information about your air conditioning systems, your heating systems, what you have in your house, and we document where it was installed. They actually have a map on their website that shows the density of smoke alarms that they've already installed within the state of Tennessee.
That's great. I was so impressed by the firemen because they were so quick and so thorough. Every inch of my house was checked quickly, windows open, and they put everything back in place, blew out the house, and
a lot of times getting rid of that smoke and using an exhaust fan, checking for carbon monoxide, making sure that everything's in good shape. Part of the service that we try to do.
What do you think is the biggest cause of house fires?
Kitchens are your stovetop fires are still one of the leading causes of fires. Now, of course, when fall hits and it starts getting cold, back years ago, we always had those gas heaters.
Right.
And they'd sit idle for the summer and nobody ever do it. But if they had electronic ignition, they'd start up on their own when it got to a certain temperature.
Right.
And a lot of people would stack stuff on them. They'd have their winter clothes or their summer clothes. They'd stack them over there.
That's insane.
And then of course, when winter hit, they would start on fire.
Right.
A lot of the little space heaters that you had, back years ago, they didn't have fault switches on them or anything of that nature. Whenever they would fall over, they'd just continue running.
Yeah.
Anything that's newer that you bought now that's UL listed, they all have faults in them. So if it flips over, it turns off automatically.
It turns off automatically.
So you want to make sure that you do have a good heater that is actually a newer heater.
Well, I do.
That will
I have
do that.
a propane gas heater in my house, for emergencies when the electricity goes off, and sometimes I'm a little nervous about it, but I would never stack stuff on it.
Always keep everything about 3 foot away from it, and you're in pretty good shape.
I'm smart enough to know that. Well, I know that the fire department or first responders, you guys are fabulous. Do you climb those stairs on 9/11? Did you climb those?
I climbed a few. I didn't climb them all. Now, we did have quite a few that did.
I admire that.
Do a lot of them. That's just
because we should never forget that
never
day. Never
forget what had happened on 9/11. It changed our world completely.
It did.
It changed us as a fire organization. We do so much more different things than we did before that. It changed a lot of our protocols. It changed a lot of responses that we do now. So we just try to continue to improve and continue to do better.
Do y'all still do the Christmas thing for the children?
Yes. We just recently finished that up. We had 162 families that we served, over 400 children. We're just happy to do that for those families, and hopefully that their kids could have a good Christmas.
I noticed in
the
newspaper this week that I was reading, there was some children that had been highly abused and whatever, and I know that's not our subject today, but I think of how much many of our children need, and the fact that you all give them a Christmas, that's beautiful.
It just breaks your heart just thinking about something like that.
It does break your heart. Oh my gosh, the time is up. Kenny, I'm so glad I got to meet you and know you. I've seen you before. I know I have.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, thanks for coming, and thanks for what you do with the fire department.
Thank you.
We'll be back. I don't know what it'll be, but we'll be back.
Okay, so what would you bring to my company?
What do you need?
I need problem-solving skills.
I got through high school without a car, a phone, or a computer.
No college degree, though.
Not yet, but life's taught me a lot, and I'm ready for more.
Well, you're not the typical kind of candidate that I hire. But you are exactly what I'm looking for.
Your company could be missing out on the candidates it needs most. Learn how to find a great pool of untapped talent at gradsoflife.org.
Hi, I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you prevent wildfires.
Dude, I've got this. I've been camping since I was 5 years old.
But I am a camping influencer.
You know what? I'll bet you $5. Okay. Assistant Smokey, what is the best way to put out a campfire?
To put out a campfire, drown with water, stir, drown again. Then make sure the fire is out cold by feeling with the back of your hand.
Wait, really?
I'll take the $5.
Get your news first, fast, and free with your news leader on 6 every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday nights at 6, 8, and 10 p.m. Local weather, sports, community calendar events, and a comprehensive look at the latest news stories and news makers as only a video news broadcast can do. Get it first, fast, and free with News Leader on Channel 6, your local information network.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And as most of you know, yesterday was Martin Luther King Day, and celebrated in Tullahoma. Great crowd for the Martin Luther King Day Parade here in Tullahoma, which ended at C.D. Stamps Community Center. And Royce Massengale gave a really nice speech there. Let's go to that video right now.
Tina, you played the heck out of those songs, and I appreciate you. Hello, everybody. It's nice to see you. My name is Royce Massengale. Before we get started, I was kind of listening to everyone else speaking before I came up here, and Mr. Pruitt kind of brought something to my attention. Where's it? There you go. You reminded me of something about when the parents said that, this is going to hurt me more than it's going to hurt you. And I used to think, when I was a kid, I was like, how was that possible? Like, how was that possible? The same way that hurt me right now. I'm enjoying this. Yeah. But I did realize that when parents spoke about those things, and this is for anybody that may not understand that lingo, especially for the children, the metaphor of that is, even though that a child may be enduring physical pain within that distance, because if we hurt, that's what they play. If y'all know Mr. Larry Riggs, he was a big guy, he didn't play. But I realized that I got older that, that physical pain went away. And the reason why it hurt him more than it hurt me is because he considered me as his own, as his child. And he loved me, and he hated to have to do something like that. And see me cry, but he knows that in the long run, it was going to be best for me because it really kept me out of a lot of trouble, as a young child. So I do appreciate both of my parents, for the discipline that they give me. And for any children that I hear right now, sometimes you may be mad at your parents, you don't know why they do things. Just know that they do what I love because they've been there, they've done that twice. And they just want to see you, be prosperous. And be a man and woman of God. All right, so that's just my little icebreaker right there. This is actually very interesting to see. As Mr. Driver mentioned, I do have a little podcast. It's called Rose's Brand. I did take a little hiatus because I was going through a lot of things mentally, in some cases physically, and I kind of shelled that in a little bit. And this is the first time that I actually had a real mental break, all by myself. I can't really explain how it happened. I was to myself, I was doing my own thing, or watching TV. Sometimes things just hit you, and out of 40 years of my life, I realized that I've been running from something. And I'm not going to indulge into that because that's really more for therapy. But in general, I realized that I've been holding a lot of stuff in. I've taken a lot mentally, especially in these last 10 years, and finally just caught up with it. And I took a little hiatus for this brand. I started filming last year around 2022. I want to say it was September, maybe? Yeah, around September or so. And I needed to take that break to kind of gather my thoughts, figure out what my purpose was. And this is what it's going to be. I do understand that this is MLK Day, and we are honoring a true martyr, a man who has sacrificed his life. He knew that he was going to die. Not only did he see that dream, he did see his demise. And when he made that last speech in Memphis, when he said that I may not get there with you, that right there let me know that he knew that his time was not. But the fact that he still stood there and he spoke his thoughts before he lost his mind, he got his one last message out about being over that mountaintop and singing. And How that corresponds with this is, I believe what MLK was saying is actually what we're seeing right now. People from all different cultures, different races, all here together. We've all played sports, we've all went to church, and we're here right now to celebrate a man that just wanted simply equality. So, it's 2023 now. I came here back in 2020. I came back. I'm actually graduated. I came back the second time. The first time I came back to school, just wanted to get the things together and see, what I want to do. Now that I graduated college, got that together, moved to Nashville, and got into a little bit of this video production. And I came back here in 2020, and a lot of people ask me this question. They say, "Why did you come back to Tullahoma? After all the things you did, the shows, the production, in the east, the west, the north, the south, why did you come back to Tullahoma?" I asked myself that question too. Why did I come back here? Honestly, it wasn't the plan. And I'll be brief about how I got back here and get more into the brief of what I want to speak about. The theme, when I read on the flyer, the theme that said, believe, achieve, and succeed. So y'all remember those three words because we're going to come back to it. Hypothetical question. What do y'all believe in? What do you believe in? Keep that to yourself, and I'll come back to that. I was living in Murfreesboro 2019 and 2020, and I believe this was on a Saturday. And no, it was a Sunday. I was getting ready to make a run, go to the gas station, and just get some things for me. And as I was driving by the square, I saw all these people walking around in a circle. They were chanting. And the videographer was like, okay, the gas station is waiting. I gotta see what's going on down here. And so I got out of the car, I took out my phone, and then I went live. And this was around the George Floyd situation during that summer. And it was very touching to actually see people that I see here, same different cultures, different races, all coming together for a certain cause. Not just because of a black man dying under police authority. It was more just for the simple fact that it was a man dying under the authority of the police. And that's how people were seeing that. What's right is right, what's wrong is wrong. So as I got out of the car and I started walking around with people, I didn't do this on purpose. I promise you. Somehow, I was at the back of the line, and I ended up at the front of the line, just going around the place. And I met this young college student, his name was Lamar. At that time, he was the president of the Black Student Union in Murfreesboro. And he was carrying a bullhorn. And as we was walking, talking, he said, hey, he said, if I walk outside of this gates, because we were walking inside, if I walk outside of this gates, will you follow me? I was like, yeah, I'm saying about that life, I do that, let's do it. So as we walked out, we didn't really have any expectations of what was going to happen next. But as we walked out, and we turned around, we realized there were 300-400 people walking behind us. And what was strange was that the police didn't stop us. They didn't tell us that everybody go home, put up your bands. I thought that was kind of interesting. And so as we walked, helicopters were flying around the sky. We didn't really know where we were going. And so we asked him, he was like, man, he said, where we gonna go? I said, I said, let's go to the police station. Like, yeah, that'll do it. I had no idea at all. We went to the police station, and the crowd was still following. see the diversity that we're seeing here down in MTSU. Young cats, speaking their mind. We went on to the MTSU Boulevard, Rutherford Boulevard, MTSU. And if nobody heard about that situation happened, they had all the police there, and some of the tanks, and all the smoke bomb and stuff like that. You know, for that moment, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of excited. But you know, sometimes you see stuff in the movies and all that, and you're like, man, I wonder if it's gonna be like this. So I was there and seeing all that, like, I was like the commander of some artists, the rainbow, like, oh, hey, everybody get down, everybody go. Just standing in the air, smoke bombs everywhere. You know, I kind of got to kill myself a little bit, and I realized, like, oh, this is real. They're not playing. And I said, okay, we're gonna have to do this. We're gonna have to do a little organizing next time because we can't just be walking down the street and thinking nothing's gonna happen. But I was really encouraged just by the energy that these students had. And I say that to say this. After all of that, I got a call from some people from Winchester, and they were going to march themselves. And they asked me, you know, if I would like to come down and speak. I was like, okay, you know, God, this is what you want to do, you know. I guess I'll do it. I didn't know anything I was going to say. But when I went down there, I noticed that there was a fear in some of the people. You know, there were some people out here saying, hey, man, I need to get out there and come down there, you know. Hey, let me get out there, you know, they're going to be with bikes and, you know, they don't want to do it. It's not a safe place to be. And I'm like, I said, what's the use? I'm sitting here thinking about numbers. There are our numbers, you know. If we're all going there as a conglomerate and we're going for, we got a goal, we got a mission, like, what is it to be afraid of? Even if you were by yourself, what are you afraid of if you have got it at the end of the day? And that's what I was thinking. So going to Winchester and speaking to them, speaking to the young folks, speaking to the elders, and just seeing the light in their eyes, they saw something. And they encouraged me. So we had the next one to Tullahoma. And I guess that's where it came home for me. Coming to Tullahoma and being able to speak and being able to march up there. That's what brought me down here. All y'all, sitting down right now behind me, you guys are what brought me here because I felt the energy, I felt the need for change here in this community from you guys. And it encouraged me to come here and say, okay, what is it that I can contribute with what I have to help push this thing forward? And that's what works is what I came upon. And so I use my platform to be able to speak my mind, to lose my mind. And for those who may know me, and for those who don't, you know, I do speak my thoughts before I lose my mind. And there may be some things that I say that may be controversial, but I say those things to bring up thought and conversation. I have a certain love for this community. And when we're talking this into MLK Day, as far as really wanting, as far as really seeing, I have to be honest with this town. The diversity that we have here is totally different from what it was in the 50s and 60s. Some of our others that have been here have heard some of their stories. My stepfather told me some of the stories. You guys have the stories, you guys know how it was then. And we got to know what happened so it won't be repeated. But what I want to challenge everybody here now is, they say Tullahoma is a community. And the topic of race always seems to come up. But as a grown man, I had to realize, and something that I fought for a long time, that in anywhere, especially here in Tullahoma, no, it's not about race. It's about culture. It's about where we live. It's about the things that we do, our traditions. This is a small town. Everybody knows everybody. But I want to challenge people here in Tullahoma. When they say this is a community, you think about a community. You think about everyone. You think about the north side, the south side, the east side, the west side. We think about everybody coming together for a cause. Rather than black and white. Isn't that what the civil rights was for? No discrimination against anyone, regardless. I do emphasize a lot about this side of town. This is a historical side of this town. We have cities now. We have the academy here. Very deep and rich history. And it's actually amazing just to see once again everybody from all creeds and colors together. And this is my challenge. My challenge for you here in Tullahoma is that if you see anything that you feel that needs to be changed, that needs to be fixed or reconstructed or renovated, regardless of what side of town you are, speak up about it. Say something. Come to the phone meetings. They're very informative. Mr. Berry is very informative of what he does. Anytime he comes to the meetings, he always informs us on things that need to be done or things that have already been done or cannot be done. But I want to encourage every single one of you here in Tullahoma to keep your eyes open on everything, to be attentive, to work together. I know sometimes we got this little thing where we're like, I don't know if they can understand what we're talking about or what we're doing here, or they may not understand our culture and all that, but that's what MLK was talking about. We may have our own cultures, but that should not separate us in any way. Because it happens in Illinois. We're human beings, it's there. But I'm challenging everyone to get over that. To get over what is inevitable right now. Every single one of them. We have a man, Mr. Duncan, back here, who has done so much in this community. I've looked up to him since I was a little kid. He was always outspoken. And me and his grandson were always tagged. Older man. But I have a love for the city. And so when we talk about believing, when we talk about achieving and succeeding, I'm asking you, what do you believe in? Are we just here to Tullahoma, or are we really content? Do we not want any change? And if we do want change, are we keeping this to ourselves? Or are we making the whole community aware of what's going on? What do you believe in? What do you believe for Tullahoma? I'll tell you what I believe. I believe that Tullahoma can be greater than it's ever been. I believe that Tullahoma can come together as one. And even me saying that, you might be saying, we are together as one. No, we're not. And that's just my honest opinion. I want people to be true about how they feel about what's happening. We have to have conversations that can make us uncomfortable. Martin Luther King did the same thing. He had those conversations that made you uncomfortable. But if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be here right now, mixing and mingling, here with each other, working together. We would not at all. Along with all the other martyrs who took that chance of saying things that could make you uncomfortable. What do you believe in? I believe in everybody here in Tullahoma can come together and work together as a community and see the things that need to be worked on. Follow through. Get everybody involved. Hold yourself accountable. And vote. I'm not going to get on about voting the way I am, because that is also part of the civil rights, the right to vote. We have the right to vote. We have a right not to vote. That's the choice that we have. But we also have to hold ourselves accountable for whether we did or we didn't. And I want to challenge that, especially whatever elections we have next, here locally, regionally, statewide, nationally. I want to to push one of those things. And I feel like sometimes, even myself, we take those things for granted. We take those things as far as voting for granted, and what it really does. Voting is worth a lot of money. It's worth your life. It's worth your future. What do you believe in? The second thing was achieve. Now, achieve is exceed or kind of synonymous. But to achieve something, first you have to believe in what you're trying to achieve. Is that right? So after you believe, you're going to have to put in that work to achieve. When you succeed, that is the evidence of what you work for and also what you believe in. So it goes back again to what do you believe in? What do you believe for Tullahoma? What is something that you want done? We have community leaders here who have events, who have meetings and invite people to come to speak their thoughts or lose their minds so they can bring it to our officials and they can look over that and see what's needed for the community. We're doing that right now. I want people here in Tullahoma to be more involved in this community, to see everything that's going on here, to be involved, to cast your vote, to speak on what's going on, and then follow through. Y'all, we can't just vote and then just go back home and act like everything is going to be fine. That's not how it works. We have to put in the work as people because the power is in the people. Just like the Black Panther said, all power to the people. The people are just not black. The people are white, Asian, Latino, Islanders, every single one of them. There's power in the people if we come together. So I want to make that a challenge for you guys to be more involved, be more intuitive, be more responsive. I didn't write anything to say, so a lot of these things are just coming from my heart, but I want to close on this. I do appreciate the opportunity from the We Care community. Like, I really appreciate you guys for everything that you've done. Mr. Lakia, Mr. Gerard, Cooley, Mr. JT, okay, I've seen a lot of people when I was little, and just growing up and speaking in front of you. Kind of gives me the chills a little bit, but I do appreciate it. I feel that we've come a long way, but I feel like we still need to do more. And I feel like for all of the artists that have died for what we're doing now, I think that we should truly take advantage of that and continue to push for this dream. Because I feel like we're just not quite there yet. And I feel like we have to put more action into what's going on here in Tullahoma. And that's my challenge. So, what do you believe in? We gotta believe in something in order to achieve it, in order to succeed. What is it that you want to see for Tullahoma? And hopefully after this, we're gonna have things posted up for you guys to be involved in, to speak your thoughts and lose your mind. And so we can bring to our city council and to make this community a better place for every single one of us. Because I want every side of Tullahoma to live the same. I want everybody to prosper. I want new houses built. I want new businesses built. I want things for the kids. We need things for the kids. We need that stuff. What do you believe in? What do you believe in? Just ask yourself that question. And as I close this, I just want to say that Tullahoma is always going to be my home, regardless of where I go. I wasn't even born here. I was born in Winchester, Tennessee, but I came here to middle school and I graduated. This has always been my home because you guys have made me feel comfortable, and I do appreciate that. And as I've learned over the years and seen a lot of things, I just want to say that I'm proud, but I also want to say that we have a lot of work to do. And I also want to say that let's not make Martin Luther King's death in vain. And all the other martyrs. This is just not It's a lot deeper than that. This is still his dream, continuing. A dream is just a dream without works. So we have to put in that work to fulfill the dream. But I feel like we're almost there. And I just pray that God blesses this city, regardless of all of our differences, regardless of all of our debates and things we may not agree on. But I think one thing that we all agree on is that we want something better for this city. Am I right? Just am I right about that? There's one thing. We all agree on that, right? Okay. I want to thank you guys for your time. And once again, what do you believe in? Thank you.
Clayton's has been Tullahoma's shoe store for over 120 years, and Florence Hall continues that tradition today. We're the only shoe store in town that starts with measuring your foot to make sure you get the perfect fit in a quality shoe. That includes narrow through wide widths for men, women, and children. Clayton Shoes, the family shoe store you'll love.
We're gonna fit your style. We're gonna make you smile. Service and quality at Clayton Shoe Store. We're gonna fit your style.
My husband was diagnosed with a spinal infection. He lost his ability to swallow and the movement of his legs.
I couldn't turn over in bed, I couldn't walk, I couldn't eat.
They were just wonderful in the treatment and care they gave my husband.
I regained my mobility where I was able to go home.
It is miraculous.
Let us champion your recovery. Life Care Center of Tullahoma.
STEM is everywhere. Like here, behind the scenes of The Walking Dead.
When we break down clothes, we tumble it with trisodium phosphate, rock salt, and dish detergent.
We stitched together images of our model and created a 3D set that can be walked through in a VR headset.
We're able to turn 12 walkers into 1,000 walker boards.
STEM can create new worlds on and off the screen. What will you make with STEM? Get inspired at shecanstem.com.
Get your news first, fast, and free with your news leader on 6 every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday nights at 6, 8, and 10 p.m. Local weather, sports, community calendar events, and a comprehensive look at the latest news stories and news makers as only a video news broadcast can do. Get it first, fast, and free with News Leader on Channel 6, your local information network.
Talking history about this and that. It's conversations with John and Pat. With John and Pat. With John and Pat.
Hello, everyone. I'm John Rickman. I almost forgot my lines there, Pat.
You struggled a little bit with that, John. Now, this is Pat Welch, and we're here today with segment 52 of the Conversation with John and Pat.
I'm going to do a song about the Andy Griffith Show. I wrote it a long time ago, and when you hear the name Gomer in there and Goober, well, the segment, we're going to bring back the thought about Gomer.
Okay. And this would be a great, let's make one more attempt to get people ready for the John and Pat marathon. See, the Andy Griffith marathons were the ones I enjoyed the most, Mayberry's marathons.
Yeah, well, Chapel Hill was sort of like Mayberry, so that I could identify with it.
Sure.
And I guess Tullahoma was probably 100 years ago. I don't know, you know.
We're pretty cosmopolitan over here, John.
When I was a kid about 9 or 10, Andy Griffith was my favorite show. I'd sit and pretend I was playing a part. Mayberry was a place I wanted to go. Sheriff Andy Taylor never wore no gun, but Barney Fife kept them all in the step. But I bet you if he'd ever had to use his gun, he probably would have shot himself. Gomer and Goober at the filling station made me laugh until my sides would ache.
And Emmett, the fix-it man with his hammer, couldn't mend anything that you might break. They were all laid back with a how do you do, gee whiz, and a golly. If I had my pick of any place on earth, I'd have lived in Mayberry. And I'd sit on the porch and pick with Andy, make guys at the Omaloo. Get thrown in the pokey with Otis Campbell, that's something I always wanted to do. Skip rocks on the pond with Opie, chit-chat with old Aunt Bee. Ride with Barney with his siren on through the streets of Mayberry. More rumors got started with Floyd the barber than anyone I've ever known. And Clara Edwards and old Aunt Bee kept it going on the telephone. Then Barney'd get nervous like a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs. But Andy'd come along in just a nick of time to calm him down and clear the air. No one ever will forget the good Mayor Stoner, Ben Weaver, or Howard Sprague. And down at the schoolhouse, pretty Miss Helen, who stole Andy's heart away. I was just a kid, but even then I dreamed how sweet this world would be if life was simple and we all were happy, like the folks of Mayberry. Man,
that was awesome. You know, John, Andy.
Why isn't some group doing that song?
That's a good question. Why can't we get some royalty payments at the same time?
Well, it would help out.
Yeah.
It would help a man in retirement.
You know, one of my favorite scenes on any of the Andy Griffith song was, you remember, a gentleman, his name was Rafe, and he was out in the country, and they had a really nice-looking state nurse show up that her record showed Rafe hadn't had his tetanus shot. So they threw him in jail. He wasn't going to have a shot. He just told me in jail, I'll stay in here, you know. So Andy got his guitar, went in there and sang a song that he made up about attending Rafe's wake, that he died. And by the time he finished, Rafe was crying. He could hardly wait to get that shot.
30 minutes, they could settle a lot of issues.
Oh, man.
Well, I'm going to ask Philip to put up the first picture. This is Claude Osteen. And he was a hero of ours over in Chapel Hill, you know, when we were growing up, because he was a professional baseball pitcher. And in 1965, they played the Twins in a World Series, and Don Drysdale and Sandy Koufax lost the first two games to the Twins. And then the third game, he was in the rotation and won that game. And then the next time Koufax and Drysdale came back to pitch the next games, and they went up, and they finally won the series. And Claude Osteen is well thought of over there. He was a Marshall County boy. He grew up in Chapel Hill, went to Forest for probably until he was about 14, and then his parents found work. His daddy found some work in Cincinnati.
Huh.
I
did not know that.
Yeah, and Ray Eves has told me that he played ball against Claude in like Connie Mack League or whatever that might have been back that time, Babe Ruth or whatever.
Was Ray from Marshall County? Or
Ray Eves is he doesn't admit it, but you know, Ray is a Marshall County native. He's Lewisburg though.
All right.
He's south of the river.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say that when you know, Claude would have been down in Chapel Hill at the time where people in Chapel Hill were just fighting and scratching to see if they could just make it to Lewisburg, and those that made Tullahoma were just like yourself, was exceptional advancement. This man made it all the way to Los Angeles.
Well, he did, and they called him Gomer because of his appearance. You know, he had that look sort of like Jim Neighbors, I guess. There he is again.
Yeah.
And you can see, I saw him pitch one time. And you see how his head is squared up on his face?
Right.
Well, the sun was coming in from one angle, and he had the bill of that hat turned over toward the sun. And, you know, he was a sight. Yeah. He didn't care what he looked like.
I didn't realize he's left-handed.
Yes, sir. He was good. And
so 2 of their top 3 pitchers then were left-handed
Yeah.
because Koufax would have been left-handed.
Now, and I'm going to take this now. We transition into Tullahoma, and Mr. Bob Osteen, Robert Osteen, was my principal. And show that there are 2 well-fed boys right there.
That's corn-fed.
That one on the left has some hair there too. But anyway, and he looked like he's napping. But that's, I was awake.
Well, when you eat that much, you sometimes are a little drowsy.
Oh, that's good. That's good, Pat. But anyway, Mr. Osteen was a cousin to Claude. Mr. Osteen
That's what I was going to ask you, what the
older.
relationship was.
And Mr. Osteen, Bob Osteen, his brother Don, Bill, and Ralph, and Mr. Osteen, they all played ball together on a Chapel Hill team that really were very good. They were exceptional baseball players. And I think a couple of those guys went on to play, well, maybe all of them played a little college ball, a little semi-pro ball or whatever. Yeah. Mr. Osteen, though.
That was a tough family, though, John. In our ventures to Chapel Hill to look at
when you can eke out a living on a flat rock, you're doing pretty good.
And you took me near where the Osteens, all that old Osteen family, what part of Marshall County it was, they weren't in Chapel Hill per se, they were a little bit south, I guess it was, and it was really rocky. It was, if you can live and eat on that,
there are 2 rock quarries across the road now. That shows you just how much lime. I believe Marshall County could really supply the world with lime if they need it. But anyway, going back to Mr. Osteen, he had a sister named Betty Jane, and she was Miss MTSC at that time, Middle Tennessee State College at that time, 1957. So not only was the guys strong and good athletes, the daughter was pretty beautiful, and most ladies in Chapel Hill are that way. I've noticed that about Tullahoma as well.
To the detriment where the men weren't very good looking, I guess.
Had to make up for it somewhere, didn't it?
Yeah, that's right. But that's just natural selection. Charles Darwin may have been wrong about several things, but you turn the heat up on a group, the fittest are going to be the ones to survive, and they are going to be the
Mr. Osteen
pick of the lot.
I want to tell you that Mr. Osteen, you can never outdo him. He would always tell a story that would top yours. No matter what, I caught a fish that long, Mr. Osteen. Well, I caught one this long. You know how he talk?
Yeah.
So sometimes with fingers long like that. But anyway, he'd say one time he said, I raised some of the biggest potatoes you ever saw. And I said, I got big potatoes too. Well, he'd bring his and I'd bring mine. He'd beat mine, but I think they were his dad-in-law's potatoes, to tell you the truth. But anyway, whatever he did. And now, this Claude Osteen was a great ball player, and Mr. Osteen said, well, when I was playing ball, he was our bat boy. He'd always talk. Oh, it's good talking about Mr. Osteen, about Claude, and then about how you connect with Chapel Hill.
And how, don't be embarrassed about how horrible your roots were. It made them tough. That was one.
It did.
Mr. Osteen he played football, wrestled, and baseball at MTSU, and he couldn't have been but 5'6", 5'7", something like that. But I'm telling you what, he was a horse of a man.
Well, it's time to go, Pat.
It is. We have concluded 52, and 53 is coming up, and 52 will be the last time that we make an unabashed plea for the marathon. We're gonna now live on faith and trust that it will take place, John.
I have faith. I have trust.
Over and out. Thank you, all.
Talking history about this and that. It's conversations with John and Pat. With John and Pat. With John and Pat.
Get your news first, fast, and free with your news leader on 6 every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday nights at 6, 8, and 10 p.m. Local weather, sports, community calendar events, and a comprehensive look at the latest news stories and news makers as only a video news broadcast can do. Get it first, fast, and free with News Leader on Channel 6, your local information network.
Welcome back, folks. Peggy, it's been a great show today. And
We had some nice people on the show
we
today.
did. You know, that's the great thing about doing this live-in show is because you learn a lot of stuff, whether you want to or not.
Whether you want to or not,
Whether
you're
you
going
want
to
to or
hear
not.
something that you haven't heard before.
Exactly.
I love talking to Mr. Pearson about the fire department because I don't think there's enough we can say about our policemen and our fire department.
Right.
Many accolades belong to those people.
Yeah, I enjoyed talking to John Rickman, of course, about his time with us two and him, and I could have made a whole segment out of that, actually.
That would have been great. Us two and him, they have just intrigued me as long as I've been here.
Right.
They're always coming up with something new, and I'd love to see them again. It was a couple of years ago, I was at a Kiwanis thing and saw them, and they were fabulous.
Absolutely.
Always.
Still working a little bit.
Still working, that's
Still
great.
working a little bit, so.
John has always been creative.
Right.
He taught my son 3 chords on the guitar.
Yeah.
And Bart could play anything after that.
Exactly. And if you're playing country music, you can.
You can,
play
right.
about all of it.
I think
We're out of
we're
time,
done.
folks. Thank you so much for watching today. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.